Sarah, once seen as the perfect Texas mother, shocked an entire community when investigators revealed her chilling attempts to poison and drown her three children inside their own mansion, turning a home of luxury into the scene of a nightmare. In the heart of Texas, where sprawling neighborhoods often displayed their wealth with towering gates and carefully manicured lawns, there stood a mansion that seemed to outshine them all. Its stone walls gleamed under the sunlight, its wide glass windows reflected the sky like a mirror, and the swimming pool behind it shimmered like a jewel. To anyone passing by, it was the picture of success, a dream home for a perfect family. Yet behind those walls, silence wrapped itself around the house like a heavy fog. Neighbors, though polite, often found the family unusual. The mother appeared polite and charming at community events, but her smiles never reached her eyes. She was graceful in her movements, always dressed perfectly, yet she gave the impression of someone wearing a mask. People rarely saw her children outside, and when they did, the three kids stood close together, quiet and watchful. They were well dressed and neatly groomed, but their faces held no joy. Unlike other children who laughed and shouted as they played, these three seemed withdrawn, avoiding eye contact with strangers, as if they had been taught to remain invisible. The mansion itself reflected the mood inside. Though it was filled with wealth, it lacked warmth. Curtains were always drawn, even in the daytime, and no music or laughter ever floated from its walls. Visitors who entered described a strange heaviness that clung to the air, though they couldn't explain why. Some neighbors said they often noticed the pool lights flickering late at night, long after everyone else had gone to sleep. Others swore they saw shadows moving past the windows, yet when they looked again, the figures had vanished. Still, no one asked questions. In neighborhoods like this, appearances mattered more than curiosity. People assumed the family was private, perhaps too proud or cautious to mingle freely. But inside the mansion, secrets were taking root, growing in the silence. The mother's watchful presence and the children's quiet fear hinted at something darker than mere shyness. Behind the polished surface of wealth and elegance, cracks were beginning to form. The mansion, with its perfect lawn and shining gates, was not what it seemed. It was a stage hiding an unfolding story, one that would soon shatter the illusion of safety and reveal the disturbing truth that no one had dared to imagine. Late one evening, after a dinner that seemed ordinary to everyone else, the children began to fall ill. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than a simple case of food poisoning. Their stomachs cramped, their skin turned pale, and their small bodies trembled with weakness. The mother explained to relatives that the children must have caught a stomach virus from school, something harmless that would pass in a day or two. But the sickness did not fade. Instead, it returned again and again, striking without warning and leaving the children weaker each time. Doctors were puzzled, running test after test, yet the results showed nothing unusual. To the outside world, the mystery illness looked like a coincidence, but to those watching closely, a disturbing pattern was beginning to show. One morning, the youngest child was found near the edge of the pool, soaked to the skin and trembling. She told a visiting relative that she had slipped and fallen into the water, though no one had seen it happen. The incident was brushed aside as an accident, yet it raised questions. Why had she been near the pool so late, long after bedtime? Why had no one heard a splash or a cry for help? The explanation seemed too thin, and an uneasy feeling settled over those who thought about it. Soon after, similar events followed. The children would recover slightly, only to collapse again days later. They grew hesitant at mealtimes, pushing food around their plates instead of eating. Their eyes carried a tired fear, as though they knew something was wrong, but could not say it. The mother remained calm, too calm, reassuring everyone that it was nothing serious. She spoke with confidence, her voice smooth and steady, as if she believed no one could doubt her. Yet in that calmness was something unnerving, something that made even close relatives uneasy. The mansion itself seemed to mirror the tension. Lights flickered late into the night, and the sound of footsteps echoed down the long hallways when the house was supposed to be asleep. The pool, once a symbol of luxury, began to feel like a quiet menace, reflecting the moonlight with an unsettling stillness. Each unexplained illness, each near accident, tightened the invisible net around the children. What appeared on the surface to be a string of unlucky events was, in truth, the beginning of something much darker. The silence of the mansion was no longer ordinary. It was hiding a plan that few would dare to imagine. Doctors continued to search for answers, but the test results always came back clean. No infections, no viruses, nothing that could explain why the three children kept falling sick. To outsiders, it seemed impossible. How could the same mysterious illness strike again and again, only within the same household? Teachers at the children's school noticed the change most clearly. Their once bright faces now looked pale and fragile. They struggled to focus in class, often resting their heads on their desks as though weighed down by exhaustion. Some teachers quietly reported their concerns, but the explanations given by the family simple flu, seasonal bugs, or food sensitivity were enough to quiet the doubts for a while. Inside the mansion, the atmosphere grew colder. Relatives who visited found the air strangely heavy, filled with an energy that made them uneasy. Meals always prepared under the mother's watchful eye carried faint traces of something unusual. A visiting aunt once tasted her tea and pushed the cup away after detecting a bitter flavor. She said nothing, unwilling to accuse, but the memory lingered in her mind. It was not the kind of bitterness that came from sugarless coffee or strong herbs. It was something sharper, something that should not have been there at all. The children themselves grew fearful of their surroundings. They became cautious about eating, glancing nervously at their plates as though each bite might bring danger. Even the water they drank was eyed with suspicion. Their unease was not the simple fussiness of children. It was a quiet understanding that something harmful was being placed before them. The pool, once a source of summer joy, became a place of dread. They no longer splashed or played there. Instead, they kept their distance, whispering to each other in hushed tones and clinging close whenever they were led near it. The mother, however, remained perfectly composed. To outsiders, she carried the image of a strong woman, dealing with her children's health struggles with patience and grace. She explained the strange illnesses with convincing charm, dismissing them as unlucky misfortunes. Yet those who looked closely saw the cracks in her mask. Her eyes lingered too long on the children as they ate. Her grip tightened on cups as she poured their drinks, and her control over the household became absolute. What seemed like a home of luxury was turning into a place of quiet terror, where each day carried the weight of hidden danger, and every meal felt like a test of survival. The storm arrived without warning, draping the mansion in darkness as rain lashed against the tall windows. Thunder rolled across the sky, shaking the walls, while lightning flashed to reveal the uneasy silence within. That night, the children were unusually restless, their fragile bodies trembling as though they sensed danger approaching. The mother moved through the halls with a calmness that seemed out of place against the chaos outside. She lit candles when the power went out, their flames flickering shadows across the marble floors, and her presence felt colder than the storm itself. A visiting relative, who had chosen to stay the night due to the heavy rain, wandered toward the kitchen in search of water. It was there, hidden by the shadows, that she froze. The mother stood at the counter, carefully pouring a liquid from a small bottle into the children's glasses. The visitor's breath caught in her throat, but she stepped back silently, her mind racing to understand what she had just seen. Fear gripped her, yet she knew any sudden reaction could put the children in greater danger. Hours later, the children began complaining of dizziness, clutching their stomachs as they cried softly in the dimly lit rooms. The mother's expression did not shift. She guided them with gentle hands toward the backyard, her movements steady as if rehearsed. The storm raged louder outside, masking the quiet shuffle of feet down the mansion's hallway. The pool glistened in the rain, its surface rippling like black glass beneath the storm. The children, weak and trembling, clung to one another, their small faces pale under the flashes of lightning. The visiting relative realized the intent in that moment. She rushed to find a phone, her hands shaking as she dialed for help, whispering urgently into the receiver. Each second felt like a race against time. Outside, the mother stood by the pool, her figure still and unyielding, the children only a step away from the water's edge. The storm grew louder, thunder drowning out the sounds of their frightened whimpers. When the authorities finally arrived, the scene was haunting. The children were shivering, pressed close together, their eyes wide with fear. The mother stood nearby, her face blank, her calmness unbroken, as though she had merely brought them outside to watch the rain. The truth, however, had finally begun to slip into the light. Investigators moved quickly once the mansion was secured, their flashlights cutting through the heavy shadows of the storm. Every room was searched, every cabinet opened, and every corner examined. In the kitchen, they found bottles hidden behind common supplies, tucked away in places only someone who lived there would know to look. When tested, the contents revealed toxic chemicals, substances that had no business being in food or drink. Traces of the same poisons were discovered in the children's meals, and the results confirmed what suspicion had already suggested. This was not an illness, not a strange coincidence. It was a deliberate act carried out with chilling precision. Attention then turned to the pool. At first glance, it looked like any other luxury feature of a wealthy home, but closer inspection told a different story. The filtration system contained traces of substances that could weaken the body, leaving anyone who entered the water disoriented and vulnerable. The shimmering blue pool that had once appeared so inviting was revealed to be another weapon hidden in plain sight. The pieces of the puzzle were falling together, and the image they created was one of careful planning and concealed danger. The mother was taken into custody, her expression as unreadable as ever. She showed no signs of panic, no desperate denials. Her composure unsettled everyone around her, as if she had prepared herself for this moment. Questions quickly arose about her motive. Some believed she had been battling unspoken psychological struggles, her perfect image hiding a mind unraveling in silence. Others whispered about resentment, hidden conflicts, or desires for control that had spiraled far beyond reason. The truth behind her actions remained clouded, locked away within her silence. The children survived, though their lives would never be the same. Their innocence had been pierced by fear, their trust in the person meant to protect them forever shaken. The mansion itself became a symbol of the horror they endured. Neighbors who once admired its elegance now avoided it, speaking in hushed tones whenever they passed its gates. What was once a dream home had become a place of nightmares, its polished walls hiding the darkest of secrets. The story of that Texas mansion served as a chilling reminder. Even in the grandest of homes, darkness can grow unnoticed. And the people who appear the most perfect may carry the most dangerous truths.